You wake before the city stirs, wondering if the lateness of your progress means you missed something vital. In this tender pre-dawn pause, violet shadows soften the edges of yesterday's hurry, inviting you to rest your weary identity in the one who names you beloved. The horizon blushes, clouds stretching like gentle arms across a sky that keeps perfect timing, and every birdsong whispers that your purpose has not slipped away. The Almighty, ever-present, endlessly patient, holds a radiant mercy that renews with each breath. So you place anxious plans beside his altar, asking him to sort them, refine them, and guide the steps you will take. The Philippians 1:6. He began the masterpiece within you and will carry it forward. Your becoming is securely paced by his faithfulness. What small burden can you surrender now? And what quietly daring request can you voice for growth today? Now, as your heart grows still, we step into the story unfolding. You inhale slowly, letting the cool air fill your lungs as morning mist drifts through the open window. Each breath is a silent hymn, reminding you that the maker of time also orchestrates rhythm in your chest. You notice how the lamplight fades, replaced by a quiet sapphire glow that kisses the edges of your room. In this hush, you choose a sacred pause before anything clamors for attention. No screens, no comparisons, no hurried checklist, only the steady pulse of grace. You sense the weight you have carried, deadlines, expectations, the numbers that measure but never celebrate. Their chatter fades when you picture the carpenter of Nazareth pausing mid-work, running calloused fingers across fresh wood, seeing what is not yet carved. You, too, are a living beam in his rising house. You do not need to rush to fit a blueprint already held in perfect memory. You simply rest in his workshop, letting the fragrance of cedar calm your striving. Outside, a single dove coos, then another joins, echoing the gentle communion that awaits when you still your heart. You pour a cup of water and feel its cool assurance against your palms, a reminder that life's simplest gifts often go unnoticed until you pause long enough to taste them. You recall nights when worry knotted your stomach, yet here you stand, proof that mercy outlasts midnight. You open your journal and write 2 unhurried lines: gratitude and desire. Gratitude for breath, for a body that can stretch toward possibility. Desire for the courage to walk paths that appear slow yet are secretly fertile. You pause your pen, listening. The whisper that rises is not a demand but an invitation. Child, delight in being unfinished. The ache of falling behind has shadowed you for seasons, a quiet voice comparing harvests before seeds even sprout. Today, you let that voice dissolve like dew. You remember that every oak once hid in humble acorns, and winters proved as formative as springs. Your story too germinates in unseen soil when you choose to be still. Psalm 4:16-10, stillness is not stagnation. It is the riverbed where revelation settles and clarity runs clear. When you cease churning the waters, divine reflections surface, guiding the steps ahead. You close your eyes and picture the shepherd leading you beside waters that refuse to rush. Streams carve canyons over millennia, so, too, your becoming will carve wonder into ordinary hours. You sense him placing a gentle hand upon your shoulder, slowing your pulse until it matches heaven's heartbeat. Before you rise, you plan one deliberate act. Greet the first person you meet with unhurried kindness, as though eternity has given you surplus minutes. That choice, small though it seems, births spaciousness in your day. You seal this intention with a final breath, trusting that sacred pauses will echo into every task. You let your shoulders drop, realizing how often they have carried invisible weights. In the stillness, you learn the language of your own body, each muscle a psalm waiting to be sung. When you unclench your jaw, creativity awakens. When you roll your wrists, mercy circulates. The pause is physical as much as spiritual, weaving restoration through sinew and thought alike. Now you welcome sunrise. Gold spills across the floorboards like a quiet promise that timing is generous, not cruel. You stand unhurried and speak aloud the truth this moment teaches. You are not late, you are loved. With that declaration, you step forward, still inside the pause, ready to carry its wideness into meetings, errands, and every heart you encounter today. Morning light slips across the mirror, revealing not just the familiar contours of your face, but the quiet storylines etched by striving, laughter, disappointments, and hope. For a fleeting moment you almost flinch, remembering yesterday's stumbles. Yet the soft glow reminds you that no blemish can blur the image of God imprinted within. You lean closer and notice tiny flecks of gold in your eyes, evidence that the Creator still speaks of glory through ordinary features. You recall labels the world pins on you: late bloomer, underachiever, almost there. They cling like stickers that lose their glue in rain. Instead of peeling them off in frustration, you let heaven's drizzle wash them away. Each droplet carries whispered truth. You are handcrafted, not mass-produced, beloved, not evaluated, becoming, never behind. The wind outside lifts the curtains in a playful breath, as though confirming the verdict. You picture the gardener kneeling in rich soil, cupping a seed between weathered fingers, seeing the full oak before the shell even splits. That gardener holds your name with identical tenderness. His vision of you is never rushed, never dimmed by timelines on a spreadsheet. The hands that flung galaxies do not mistake your slow unfolding for failure. They savor it like a long, fermented wine reserved for celebration. Isaiah 43:1. You are called, owned, and cherished by the one who authored time itself. This identity survives every season and outlasts every verdict of culture. Allow memory to travel to moments when strangers renamed you with hurtful words, or when your own voice echoed self-doubt in the quiet of night. See those names as shadows now dissolving in sunrise. One by one they fade, replaced by titles your father sings chosen. Hair masterpiece, light bearer. None of these are temporary or conditional. They root as deeply as mountains. You think of Simon hearing Jesus call him Peter, the rock, long before courage steadied his tongue. That same prophetic kindness reaches you. The name spoken over your life is future-oriented, describing what will steadily bloom as you walk with grace. You do not have to hustle into the title. You simply cooperate with the sculptor who already sees the finished form beneath excess marble. So, you stand upright, shoulders relaxed, and speak aloud 3 truths. I am formed in love. I am carried by mercy. I am becoming day by day. Your own voice surprises you, rich, steady, convincing. The room seems to widen with the sound, as if walls withdraw to make space for a larger self to emerge. A gentle resolve settles in your chest. Today you will respond to setbacks as someone sure of lineage, not scarcity. When an unexpected delay appears, you will meet it like royalty, confident that halls of heaven cannot be rushed. When comparison sneaks in through glowing screens, you will answer with a smile that says, "I know whose reflection I bear." You close your eyes and envision your name, written on the palm of God, glowing amber against scarred skin. Those scars, proof of unfailing love, protect your identity from erosion. You ask Him to press the warmth of that palm against your heart so the imprint remains even when midday noise attempts to smudge it. Breathing out, you feel lighter, as though unshackled from unseen chains. You step away from the mirror, yet the revelation follows like fragrance. You do not need stage lights or applause to confirm it. Birdsong outside becomes your applause, the quiet satisfaction of integrity your stage. Walking toward the day, you carry a certainty no calendar can contest. You are not behind. You are named, known, and perpetually becoming. You welcome the subtle tug in your limbs as morning unfolds, a quiet urging to rise and unfurl like petals meeting first light. With a slow roll of your neck, you feel yesterday's stiffness yield, as if hidden fears had lodged themselves between vertebrae and are now loosening under mercy's warmth. Each deliberate extension, arms reaching overhead, spine arching towards sky, echoes the soul's invitation to lengthen beyond familiar limits. You sense the spirit coaching every movement, encouraging breath to travel deeper, carrying courage into uncharted corners of being. The room fills with honeyed daylight, and shadows slip along the floorboards like retreating doubts. You plant bare feet on cool wood, grounding yourself in the assurance that growth is incremental yet unstoppable. A gentle stretch does not tear, it coaxes, reminding tissue of potential range. The same principle governs your inner life. Grace never forces, but persuades, easing resistance until boldness becomes comfortable. You picture a sapling swayed by breeze, its slender trunk bending rather than breaking. Flexibility preserves life through storms that would snap a rigid branch. So too, your willingness to bend, to try again, to learn new rhythms, to forgive, protects destiny from the fracture of pride. You ask, where have you been stiff with control? Which relationships could breathe easier if you allowed give? So Isaiah 54:2, when you enlarge the borders of expectation, heaven supplies the canvas. The stretch may feel vulnerable, yet it shelters future harvest and welcomes unimagined community. With verse still resonating, you picture ancient nomads, widening tent cloth, hammering stakes farther into earth. Their expansion signaled confidence in promises not yet visible. You lift your gaze and see your life as a tent under construction stakes, to habits, ropes to prayers, fabric to character catching spirit's wind. Today you move one stake, the habit of silence when you should speak life, slightly farther, small yet catalytic. You step into the hallway, arms swinging, feeling blood-awakened fingertips. Each corridor possesses latent ministry, a kind word to family, gratitude to co-workers, patience at a red light. Stretching is not merely personal wellness, it lengthens reach into surrounding lives. The neighbor you greet at the mailbox may feel unseen until your smile bridges distance. The child whose question interrupts your focus may remember the warm tone more than the answer. Yet stretching carries tenderness. Push too hard and strain arises. You invite God to set the boundary between healthy challenge and needless pain. He guides with nuanced precision, drawing a line between what must be healed before it bears weight and what is ready for endurance. Your task is simply heed the soft stop. Celebrate each incremental centimeter. Midway through breakfast, you pause to taste fruit slowly, letting sweetness coat your tongue. The act mirrors faith nutrients absorb when unhurried. You jot a single sentence on a sticky note. Room to grow is room to glow. And place it where midday fatigue might strike. Later, when schedules tighten and emails demand instant reply, you plan a micro, stretch eyes off screen, shoulders rolled back, whispered prayer for wisdom. 10 seconds can redeem 10 hours because recalibrated posture invites renewed flow of creativity. A memory surfaces of a time you attempted something new. Perhaps playing guitar, speaking another language, running farther than usual. An initial soreness tempted you to quit. But persistence transformed discomfort into delight. That history now fuels present hope. What strains today will strengthen tomorrow. Evening is distant, yet you already see yourself there, reflecting on ways you extended kindness, curiosity, patience. You will trace them back to this sunrise moment when you chose elasticity over rigidity. Growth, after all, is not a finish line, but an ever-widening circle of influence drawn by gentle stretch. So you exhale deeply, arms open. Sensing invisible ligaments of faith gliding smoother, you whisper, "Lengthen me, Lord, until I fit the size of your dreams." And with that, you step into corridors of possibility, supple and ready. Dawn has fully arrived, yet morning feels unhurried, sun climbing at the precise pace written before ages began. You notice how rays slip through branches, turning each trembling leaf into stained glass for a moment, then moving on without regret. Creation displays an effortless schedule, and in that choreography you discern a whisper. Your timeline belongs to the same composer. Still, the ache of delay sometimes throbs like a quiet bruise. Memories surface, applications unanswered, prayers seeming to ricochet. Milestones friends reached while you waited. You breathe deeper, letting the steward of seasons escort you through a mental garden where buds open exactly when sap and sun agree. Tulips do not envy roses. They bloom on cue, trusting underground instructions. You too carry concealed scripts for appointed hours. Psalm 31:50. Every second of your narrative rests safely in God's open palms. What feels wasted to you is woven into rescue beyond sight. You pour coffee and watch steam curl upward, a slow dance of warmth meeting cooler air. That rising vapor illustrates how hopes ascend. When patience fuels them, haste would spill, not rise. You remember stories of saints who waited. Joseph counting prison stones, Hannah counting barren years, Jesus awaiting the fullness of time. Their delays were incubators for deliverance, not detours from destiny. Inside your spirit, a question forms. What if the pause is not punishment, but preparation? You picture clay resting beneath damp cloth, between turns on the potter's wheel. Moisture settling so future shaping won't crack the surface. Perhaps your current lull is that gentle covering. Elasticity increases beneath holy hush. So Habakkuk 2:3 vision will surely come, though it lingers. It gathers momentum in silence and will burst forth right on schedule. You decide to honor this interval by stewarding small tasks with integrity, answering messages thoughtfully, polishing a skill that once intimidated you, tending relationships instead of scrolling past them. Faithfulness in micro hours keeps you aligned when macro breakthroughs arrive. Mid-morning traffic looms, yet you choose a lane with fewer cars, embracing slower pace as liturgy instead of irritation. You turn off background noise and let wind fill the cabin, imagining angels rearranging circumstances just beyond perception. Green lights appear precisely when you stop staring at the clock. Grace often hides in peripheral vision. Later, if a meeting starts late or a project stalls, you will breathe, recalling rivers that carve Grand Canyons by moving steadily, not frantically. Your words to colleagues will drip with calm assurance, signaling that delays need not sour dignity. This peace becomes contagious. Rooms exhale because you refuse to grasp at seconds like scarce coins. As afternoon shadows lengthen, you plan a tiny ceremony, step outside, lift eyes, and thank God for moments that seemed off schedule yet later proved pivotal. Rehearsing such memories trains your pulse to sync with eternal tempo. Before sleep tonight, you will jot any lingering impatience into a journal and hand it back to its maker with 3 simple words. Your clock wins. That surrender closes the day like a soft gate, keeping rest secure. Now you rise from breakfast table lighter, hearing finches chirp a brisk refrain that somehow harmonizes with your slower heart. Heaven's metronome adjusts you, not the other way around. You walk forward aware that divine timing is not late nor merely punctual. It is perfect, sculpting milestones you will one day call miracles. You step outside and feel the day mature around you. Sun climbing, air warming, leaves opening wider with every passing minute. In that steady unfolding you sense a summons. Purpose is not a distant summit, but a living meadow under your feet. Blades of grass sway like tiny banners, each one fulfilling its design to photosynthesize, to cushion, to fragrant summer nights. Likewise, you carry assignments tailored to your voice, your laugh, your scar-shaped wisdom. As you walk, memories surface of projects abandoned, passions shelved because comparison whispered they were too small. Yet here, among humble stems and unseen roots, you receive a gentle epiphany. Greatness often hides in the ordinary until faith coaxes it into bloom. You inhale the earthy aroma of soil and resolve to treat daily tasks as seeds rather than chores. Emails become seeds of clarity, dishes seeds of gratitude, exercise seeds of stewardship. Sound consistently, they weave a tapestry of destiny more vibrant than any spotlight moment. You recall watching gardeners prune a rosebush, clipping seemingly healthy branches so remaining blooms could thrive. The sight once felt cruel, but now you understand the pruning is permission to concentrate energy where fragrance is richest. You ponder areas demanding a courageous no, so a resounding yes can flourish. Perhaps a lingering social feed that numbs inspiration, or a commitment made from guilt, not conviction. Trimming them may sting, yet it releases vitality to nourish passions aligned with heaven's blueprint. Passing a playground, you hear children shriek with delight as swings crest towards sky. Their unfiltered joy reminds you that purpose carries playfulness. It is the call to co-create with God, not merely toil for approval. You smile, letting the sound ignite creativity long tucked away. Maybe you will paint tonight, or draft that story idea waiting patiently in a notebook margin. A breeze stirs tree canopies overhead, scattering golden fragments of sunlight across your path. In that flickering dance, you sense invisible applause for every unseen act of faithfulness. The encouraging text you sent yesterday, the silent prayer for a stranger, the choice to rest when productivity culture sneered. Purpose flourishes in such seemingly forgettable decisions. They knit character resilient enough to bear weighty influence later. Your pace slows near a pond where ripples expand from a single pebble tossed by an unseen hand. Rings widen, intersect, then merge into stillness. You realize that one obedient step, hosting a meal, mentoring a student, forgiving an offense, can ripple far beyond your awareness, shaping stories you may never witness. Significance, then, is measured not by immediate visibility, but by the eventual breath of compassion released. You pause to stretch arms skyward, palms open like petals thirsting for rain, and speak quietly. Align my talents with love's agenda. The words flow out, yet they echo back within, imprinting resolve to prioritize people over projects, presence over performance. Purpose unattached to love is an empty scaffolding. Anchored in love, it becomes a living bridge. Midday heat intensifies, coaxing the scent of pine resin into the air. It reminds you that pressure can draw out fragrance if embraced rather than resisted. So, when deadlines compress or conversations grow tense, you will let the squeeze release empathy instead of irritation. The aroma of patience can turn a boardroom into sanctuary, a kitchen into cathedral. You imagine arriving at evening's doorstep satisfied, not because everything went perfectly, but because intention guided every detour. You will recount moments when you chose growth over comfort, asking a clarifying question instead of nodding along, offering help without being asked, admitting ignorance to learn anew. These choices water purpose, ensuring that what sprouts bears the sweetness of authenticity. Before moving on, you kneel briefly to touch the ground, acknowledging partnerships hidden below, worms aerating soil, microbes enriching roots, divine grace energizing dreams. You rise knowing flourishing is rarely solo, community underground, and above sustains the garden. You commit to nurture those networks, celebrating others' blossoms as eagerly as your own. With renewed vigor you step back onto the path, heart beating with the rhythm of budding vines. Purpose is no longer a destination, it is the very air you breathe, the music of each stride, the promise that every moment, however small, can cultivate bounty for seasons yet unseen. You return from the meadow with morning's pollen, still clinging to your shoes, stepping onto sidewalks that hum with engine noise and overlapping agendas. People hurry past carrying coffees and unread burdens, but something about your pace, steady, bright, makes heads lift for a beat. Without forcing a grin, you carry daylight in your eyes, and the simple kindness of meeting another person's gaze feels like a lantern in a tunnel. Radiance is not volume, it is resonance. You do not need a stage or microphone to broadcast growth. Your presence itself, softened by pauses and stretched by grace, becomes an aroma of possibility. When a colleague sighs over a missed deadline, you answer with listening more than advice. When a cashier's greeting sounds mechanical, you respond with a sincere "thank you" that cracks the shell of routine. Small exchanges, like fireflies, accumulate into a constellation visible once night descends. You recall evenings as a child when you caught such insects in a jar, mesmerized by tiny bulbs blinking in darkness. Eventually you opened the lid, realizing light exists to wander free. That memory reminds you now. Stories of your becoming were never meant to stay bottled. During lunch you choose vulnerability, mentioning not only achievements, but the doubts that preceded them. You watch teammates relax, sensing permission to admit their own unfinished journeys. Transparency multiplies courage. Honesty turns cubicles into community. By mid-afternoon, clouds drift overhead, diffusing sunlight into silver sheets. You realize radiance adapts when circumstances dim. Witness glows from within, like embers sheltered beneath ash. So if criticism arrives, you will respond with calm curiosity, letting warmth outlast the chill of misunderstanding. If traffic snarls yet again, you will turn the delay into a prayer for strangers sharing the road. The world notices when irritation should have appeared, but wonder did instead. Later you pass a construction site and watch sparks fly from steel beams, being welded into a new horizon line. Each spark looks brief yet essential to the structure rising. Your words, your tasks, your gestures, though fleeting, are welding moments binding hope to reality. You silently bless the workers. Then consider who silently blessed you during hidden seasons: mentors, authors, neighbors. Gratitude pulses through veins, powering more sparks. On your desk waits an unfinished thank. You note you keep postponing, convinced eloquence must arrive first. Today you choose affection over perfection, letting ink flow even if sentences wobble. The recipient may read it in a hurried lunch break, yet hear sincerity vibrating between lines. Words, like seeds on wind, land where providence aims, sprouting hope in places your feet may never travel. That realization loosens your tongue, freeing you to speak blessing in real time, rather than rehearsing it forever. Evening edges closer and city lights flicker on. But you carry a different illuminant, one that cannot be shut off by municipal switch. It flows from the knowledge that you are not late to any appointment written by love. You make a final commitment. Before resting tonight, you will recount 3 instances in which your presence added softness to someone's day, affirming that witness is measured by ripples, not headlines. You close your eyes, smiling at the thought that galaxies are already reflecting that practice back to you. Walking home, you glimpse your shadow along brick walls, elongated by sunset, proof that light behind you still defines shape ahead. You whisper to the fading sky, use every angle of my story to point to grace. Street lamps ignite, echoing your request, multiple sources. One purpose, to guide travelers safely. And with each step you realize growth was never merely personal. It was always meant to paint brighter paths for anyone who dares to follow the glow. Let this sunrise echo inside your chest like a quiet drum of promise. Notice how breath slows when gratitude takes the lead. How hope feels lighter than worry when you place both on heaven's scale. Picture the small doors you will open today through patience, the hidden gardens you will water with encouragement. Your pace may still feel slow, yet holy momentum is already gathering beneath each step. Trust that unseen roots are strengthening, that joy germinates in silence. Sit with that certainty, listening for the gentle heartbeat of God nearby. Right here, right now.